So it's an added safety thing, and that's basically what we're looking at, is does it add safety? Does it work? Does it create a problem? Okay, so just a little ride today. Got some stuff to do. Made a comment in a previous video about wanting a Robbie Layton sticker on this bike. And I doubt he's actually seen the video, but I did get some stickers with my last shirt order. I'm just changing this because I think this will give me a lot more stability up here. And I don't know if anybody's actually noticed the Robbie Layton keychain on my motorcycle key, but now there's a sticker on the windshield to match it. So, all ready to go once I get my gloves on. Which is where we were a minute ago when I realized I didn't have them to put on. So, I think I would have to make way more money than they do to do that job. Not because they're putting themselves out where somebody can run them over or anything like that. It's just I can't fathom standing and doing nothing but turning a sign around for hours a day. I would absolutely love to get my hands on an old Dodge step-side bed. I could make one of those out of Shorty, which would be fun because I always thought those were neat trucks, but at the same time, Shorty is one body style newer, and they didn't have the Little Red Express in that body style. Okay, so here we are. I'm going to go ahead and just pause everything, shut everything down, get all my stuff together. And I'm not sure where exactly I'm going to find to do this, but I'm going to sit down and get set up, and I'll bring you back then. Okay, well, welcome back. This is where I found to do a review here. Nice, quiet, shady spot under the bridge here with the sound of the river here. I don't know how well you can see that, but there's a nice little line of rocks across there. Makes a nice splashy background. So now I just fire up my laptop by Leighton. Not really, but let's just say I was excited enough to mark my laptop before I got the protective case for it. And now 99.9% of the people out there know what kind it is. So anyway, what we're doing today is just kind of a wrap up on the Break Free. If you've watched the last few videos, or the last couple videos anyway, you may have heard me talk about it. I'm not 100% sure off the top of my head if it's actually made it into any of the videos. I think St. Helens is the only one that it's in that actually has gone up. But I did make a few other ones since then, and I've got some of the footage together. Yes, I know it's unable to connect to the internet. We're not connected to the internet. Amazing how that works. Okay, so I'm just going to open this up here. And when I do this, obviously I'm going to put the video up on the screen, but I'm just going to go ahead and watch them so I can talk about what we've got here. So first of all, the Break Free, if you're not familiar with it, is an add-on brake light that goes on your helmet, and it uses an accelerometer. Yeah, my tongue is tripping over itself. And other electronic components in that unit to detect when you're slowing down or stopping, so that it can activate without having to be tapped into your bike's brakes for that signal. And one key advantage to that, obviously, you don't have to have a wire running to your helmet tapped into your brake lights. And the other, obviously, is when you use something like that that's tapped into your vehicle's brakes, there's always the chance that connection can cause a problem later on and you lose your brake lights, which is really not a good idea on a motorcycle. So it's an added safety thing, and that's basically what we're looking at, is does it add safety? Does it work? Does it create a problem? And anytime you have something like this, there's always going to be times where it doesn't come on when you would think, okay, it should come on there. And there's going to be times where it comes on when you would think, okay, there's no reason for it. And that's due to how they've created this system and the things that it monitors. There's always going to be some margin of error in those. Oh, somebody's walking over the bridge up there. Okay, so now let's move on. So like I said, let's start with taking a look at the first collection of clips that I have here. And these are where it did exactly what it was supposed to do. Okay, here you see I'm pulling up to a stop sign and there it lights up, which is exactly what you expected to do. It goes off as I start to go. And again, it comes on as I'm slowing down for the turn. Same thing here in the parking lot. That guy came out of nowhere and I let off and it did what it was supposed to do with engine braking. It came on, and then again at the stop sign. And again here. These probably aren't going to be exciting. I'm sorry for that. But it's just, like I said, showing this is doing what it's supposed to do with the stop sign here. It comes on, and that is it's the same thing as your brake light in the back window of your car. It's putting a light up where the drivers behind you are already looking. This is an engine brake event here. I'm not using the vehicle brakes at all. So in that case, you add a light which wouldn't be there because, as you may or may not know, when you let off, your car doesn't turn on your brake lights. Your motorcycle doesn't either. Here's another case with the engine braking. I've just let off, and if somebody's behind you and your brake lights don't come on but you're slowing down, that's a perfect situation for being rear-ended. So again, these are kind of a mix of using the brakes and engine braking. If you look right above and to the left of my head, you'll see this little teeny baby deer. This thing was maybe a day or two old, just tiny. And again, engine braking. So it does what it's supposed to do. It uses the accelerometer to see that you're slowing down. It turns on that brake light, which doesn't occur with the engine normally. And that is an important safety thing because you're slowing down and you want the cars behind you to know that you're slowing down, because a lot of times on a motorcycle, when you let your engine do the braking, you slow down a lot faster than you would if you were in a car allowing the engine to do the braking. So there you go. That was some good examples of the brake-free doing what it's supposed to do. And while we're on that note of the positives, I did do a couple of tests. I didn't do it a lot because I wanted to kind of get more real-world performance. Let's go ahead and take a look at that one now. It'll be interesting to see. I won't know till I edit the footage whether this brake thing is working as intended. I'll let him talk for you. But it's meant, so like here, if I accelerate up here a little, and then if I let off, it should have given a brake, or if I brake, it should give it a brake light. Okay, now I didn't talk on this one because it's not a composition, but what I did was I tested the emergency braking function. And it's kind of hard to show on there. And that does highlight one thing I did notice. In direct sunlight, it's not as visible as it could be. But if you missed it, when I did the emergency brake test, when it comes on, it flashes and then stays on, which is good. You want to attract attention in a situation where you're stopping quickly. But again, like I said, it does highlight one of the things I did notice in the footage is when the sunlight is hitting it directly, it's not as visible as other brake lights that you see. Obviously, if sunlight made brake lights not show up there would be a lot less cars on the road. So that's one thing. It's possible, so maybe putting a sunshade over it in the form of the light would improve that. Brighter LEDs, I'm not sure. I don't have solutions. I'm just pointing out, and that may not be as big of an issue as it seems. I don't know. I don't have exhaustive statistics on this. I'm just going over what I see, and that's one of the things that I noticed was that the sunlight does diminish its visibility at times. So let's take another look here. Some of these, in this clip, what these are is times where I stopped. I didn't put all the ones that I found in there. I just wanted to give a couple of examples of the typical situation. So let's go ahead and open this one and take a look at it. What you'll notice here is I'm not slowing down really quickly. And I think that is a key to when it doesn't pick up a stop. And it's not always. This one, obviously, I'm stopping more normally. And you'll notice it doesn't come on. And what you'll see here is it looks like it's flashing on here. I'm not sure if that's actually flashing or if that's just because of the camera. Sometimes it looks like it's flashing. Sometimes it looks like it's not. I'm going to write that off as being the camera because I don't have another writer back there to confirm yes or no it is or it isn't flashing. So anyway, what I noticed is most of the time when it doesn't pick up the braking, it does tend to be like that where it's not a quick stop, and chances are your brake lights on the bike are going to be enough. But it would be nice to see that it comes on even if you're not stopping quickly, because it is a visibility thing, and if it's not lit up, it's not helping your visibility. And they do have other options where you can have it on the whole thing lit up and it lights up brighter when you're stopping. So there is some adjustability in that. And obviously those affect how long the battery lasts. So I have just the center section lit up and then the whole thing lights up when you're braking. Now, one issue I did notice with it is it doesn't always distinguish properly between braking and accelerating. In some situations, we'll get into this video and I'll kind of highlight it while we're showing this. One situation is different than the other, and I'll explain that further in a moment. But the most common one makes sense in that you accelerate and then when you shift, you have to let off. So you stop accelerating and that comes on, which on the face of it sounds like a good idea. You stopped accelerating and you want them to not run over you from behind. The problem with that, in my opinion, is when that comes on and you're not stopping, it diminishes its ability to connect stopping to that light for the drivers behind you. So every time you accelerate, it comes on when you shift. They're going to start associating that light with acceleration and not stopping. I'm not sure if there's any way to do away with that particular, because you are technically applying engine braking before you put the clutch in to shift. But the other one we'll get into in a moment here while we're watching. So let's go ahead and start this. And this is an example of the shifting. And this is the second one. You'll see here in just a moment. Now you'll notice the light is still on. And this doesn't happen every time, but it does happen enough to be a concern. And my problem here is now I'm not accelerating it, but I'm not stopping. And that light is on. I'm holding speed. And that's for the same reason I explained with the shifting, having it come on. Now this has been on, and anyone that was driving behind me would have disassociated that with anything. So here's another example of coming on, shifting, and then letting off and holding speed. It didn't stay on quite as long, but so again, shift, holding speed, it comes on and it stays on for a second. These ones aren't quite as long as the first one. But you can see what's happening is you're accelerating and then you're not accelerating, and it's misinterpreting that as, see, and this is kind of misleading in this clip because it looks like I'm slowing down, and I'm not. I'm actually holding speed, and that's exactly highlighting my point. If I was behind me and I saw that come on, I would be wondering what's going on, and pretty soon, if it did that frequently enough, I would stop thinking, oh, that's a brake light, and I would totally lose that connection with that's a brake light, and I need to slow down because it came on, and start thinking, oh, his light on there is just to get attention, and it's not working right. So the good news is that isn't as frequent as I would have to see it to really start thinking it's a problem. The bad news is it does happen quite frequently. Over the length of 3 videos, trying to remember off the top of my head here, I had, I want to say, about 10 hours of footage, and probably half a dozen times in there that it was long enough that it caught my eye as an issue. So obviously the more you ride, or the way you ride, it's going to affect how much these are going to be an issue for you. So what do I think of the product? I think it's definitely worth the money. The reason is it is visibility, and visibility is the key to surviving on a bike. Noise is not a solution for being seen. In fact, I just had an article I shared on my Facebook. I think it was originally shared by JP Cycles. I'm not certain on that, but showing the reality that other drivers aren't going to hear you no matter how loud you are with your exhaust, because the way that travels and the other things going on in the car, your key survivability is being seen, and this is going to help with that, especially from behind. So yeah, there's some things in there that don't always hit the mark, but the reality is they are the minority. Most of the time it does what it's supposed to do. One other thing I've noticed is your head does affect it. If I'm coming up to stop and I'm looking for traffic, it's less likely to pick that stop up. I'm guessing that's because the accelerometer is going this way now instead of this way. Again, I don't know if that's something that they can address in the design, but it is something that I've observed, and so it's worth mentioning. So keep that in mind. If there's somebody behind you and they look a little closer than they should be, you should be watching them carefully when you're stopping anyway. But if there's traffic behind you and you're coming up to a stop, keep that in mind. Maybe stop, slow down some before, give them a chance to see that, and then look. Again, how you ride is going to affect that. But that's one of the biggest things that I saw is also when you're looking around or looking in different ways, it can cause that to come on unnecessarily. Again, those are minor things. In my opinion, it's well worth the money. As far as drag or weight, I never felt the weight of it on there. I never felt any kind of drag from it catching wind. I can attest that it does change your wind profile, because the helmet that I have, normally there would be no air down the back of my jacket or down my back from that helmet. It goes past and beyond. And with the brake free on there, it comes around and catches that and is directed down. It doesn't translated worse mileage or anything. It doesn't pull on your head or anything like that, but it is something that I did notice, is that it does redirect the airflow. But I've taken a couple of fairly long rides with it, and I mean, the thing is not heavy at all. It doesn't hang out far. There are a couple of things that, again, I don't know how practical it would be, but it would be nice is if it had some type of a display that you could mount inside your helmet, because there's no way to see it on the motorcycle, so you don't know if it's coming on or not. It has a warning for when the battery's getting low, but I can't see it because it's on the back of my head. So even if it was an add-on that I could buy and put inside of my visor just so I could see those visual signals, that would be awesome. Again, I don't know how practical that would be, or how, if it's going to be 3 times the price to do that, it wouldn't be worth it. But it's something to consider. What was the other? Oh, the other thing is the way it's clipped on there, and they mention this in the instructions, so I know they're aware of it. It can bump off, so it would be kind of nice just to have like a bungee or something that you could clip onto your jacket or something, just if it does get knocked off, it doesn't hit the ground, first of all. But if you're going down the road and you move and it just happens to bump it off, then you're out of a fairly expensive piece of equipment. I mean, as far as riding equipment goes, it's not stupid expensive, but I mean, it's not something I want to have fall off on the road and it'd just be like, oh, brush it off, buy another one. It's cool. So, I mean, even just like the bungees they use for when you fall off of your jet ski to pull the little switch, something like that I could hook just onto my jacket. 2 reasons. 1, it wouldn't be lost, and 2, it would, oh, my brake free came off. So, and I have knocked it off. I knocked it off once, and I'm not even sure how I did that. I shrugged my shoulder or something while I was getting my gear on, and poof, off it went, and it hit the pavement. Which it survived, which is a positive. But it does highlight how easy it could come off. It's not so soft that it's going to hit a big bump and come off, but it does come off easy enough that it would be nice to have that tether just as kind of a safety thing. I mean, you could even have one that comes up and hooks onto your chin strap over here on the side, just in case, because I can't remember the exact number off the top of my head, but I'm thinking it's like $160 for this thing, so not something I want to just not have when I get where I'm going. Otherwise, I have good things only to say about it. The mounting it was easy. They have a nice template that you tape on there so you can get it lined up. The one thing I will say is make sure you set it on your helmet with the mount. There's a couple of them in the box. Figure out which one you're going to need, and figure, like mine, if I put mine 1/8 of an inch further down, it wouldn't latch. It wouldn't have fit the helmet. So using their alignment thing was second to making sure I knew where up and down on the back of the helmet I had to be, what range it would fit and where it would hit something. So don't rush it. Don't go and stick it on there and then try and put the thing on. You want to put it together and make sure you know where it's going to go before you start trying to get it attached. Otherwise, I haven't had any issues with it feeling like that tape that it comes with is going to give way. Charging it, the light on it could be a little clearer. Sometimes it's not really clear if it's still charging or if it's done charging, but that's minor. And like I said, it can be kind of hard to get it lined up when you're wearing your helmet. So when you take it off to see if your low light is on or any of those visual cues you have to look at it for, it can be kind of a pain to get it to line up right. So you may want to do a little bit of practice at home so you're not standing in a parking lot somewhere for 20 minutes trying to find your own head or having to take your helmet off to put it back on. But at this point, it's just part of the gear. It is nice that I can take it off and set it in my bag with all my other stuff and lock it up instead of leaving it hanging on the helmet. And I'm trying to remember exactly how long that Mount St. Helens trip was. I want to say almost 8 hours. And I didn't turn it off that day. I wanted to see how if it would make it, and I didn't turn it. I left it hanging on the bike with it on and everything. So it was on that entire time, and the battery was still good. I don't have an exact number. Obviously, I wouldn't, because I don't have anybody riding along behind me to tell me that it's dying to know. So I think it said on there that it lasts up to 15 hours, with most saying 10 to 12 hours is common. I can say 8, definitely. It wasn't even flashing or giving a low charge warning or anything. So I'm going to go ahead and shut this down because I'm on battery and I'm done with that portion. But the long and short of it is, if you're tight on cash and you need to get good gear and you want to be seen and you want to be safe, spend the money on gear. Don't do like you see most guys do and go buy all the black stuff, blend in, and get run over. Buy something that's seen. It's better to be seen than it is to look cool right before the accident. So get reflective gear, get light colors. You don't have to go highlighter yellow, which I like that myself because it makes you stand out, or the orange fluorescent color. That's also good for being seen, but even just brighter, like mine is white. White stands out, black blends in. So when you're on your blacked out Harley and you're all black gear with your black helmet and that little light on the front being the only visible thing, you're going to get run over. And that is exactly what I was wearing when I got ran over on my dark Harley with no chrome, no bright stuff, no reflective gear, dark black jacket, black helmet, crunch, and you have to get the gear anyway. You have to get it. Get something that you're going to be seen in. Get something that's going to protect you. Don't buy the cheap stuff because it's cheap. Buy the best gear you can reasonably afford. You don't have to go spend $1,200 on a full leather race suit to ride your motorcycle to work and back. But you want to spend that money wisely. Don't go buy something on eBay that's $30 and says, oh, it's a riding jacket and it's great. Get something that has actual protection in it. The CE ratings are important. And just as important, see what other people say. I've had some that looked really good, and then you get to the reviews and people are, oh, I fell over at the traffic light and it tore all to hell. So get the gear that you can see. And once you have the gear, this is a good add-on. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up. guess who I got this for. Okay, so I don't know at what point of the ride those shut off. So we just got this one. I assume I'm still recording audio here. I even left the battery out so I could change it when I stopped at the produce place. But anyway, like I was saying before it shut off, you got to see some more of the brake free in action on the 360 camera there. I think it's not perfect, but it does pretty good for what it is, and it's definitely worth the investment. I do hope that in the future they go to a brighter LED, or they address the sun issue. And I would like to have somebody behind me. I might have that one of these days here soon. Go on a ride with somebody else and have some feedback from them, because it's really hard to judge that based solely on the video, because part of that may be the camera emphasizing the issue. So, I mean, it may be more visible to a car behind you than it appears in the video, but I won't know for sure on that until I have some actual eyes behind me instead of just the camera. But for right now, all I have to go on is the footage. So I gathered what I had that I thought was a good representation of the overall picture I got from reviewing all the footage. And some of those videos, it wasn't really, you're not going to see those as videos on the channel. They were basically rides I took for testing purposes. And so I used some of that footage in the review video here, but not in actual videos. But there is the Mount St. Helens trip. The video today, funny enough that, it was for the review, but the ride out there and back, you can kind of see. I know it'll probably be in high speed, and it makes it a little harder to tell how it's working, but you'll get the idea if you watch and see. So hopefully there was some good information there. Hopefully the ride was enjoyable. I know it's kind of the same stuff over and over when I ride it into town, and I do have a few places coming up in mind here. And then, of course, like I said before, in July, the big trip to Oregon. I'd like to do a Mount Rainier visit, but I need to keep in mind that I'm not as close to it as I used to be. So it's actually further away than Mount St. Helens, which is the opposite of how it used to be for me. And then I haven't done the logistics on getting out to the Washington coast yet. Come on, you don't need to hang out on the motorcycle. There's no flowers here. I know it's bright and it's pretty and it looks like a big flower petal, but at least stand still. Let me see if you have an M on your head. Nope. Yeah, so on the ladybugs, if you see them and they're kind of orangey and they have an M on their head, there's not actually a ladybug. It's a different kind of beetle that looks kind of like them, and they're an invasive species. So that's what I was trying to see. And of course, I didn't want to put the ladybug in the garage. But I've seen a few little ones. They're little and they don't have any spots yet. So I don't know what these lettuce-looking things are over here. I've got a bunch of them this year coming out of everywhere. And I need to get rid of them. But anyway, so I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up. I don't have the 360 or anything going anymore anyway. And the helmet camera is not my favorite footage because I can't really tell what I'm looking at exactly. I'm getting better at it, I think. But sometimes I'm still like, yeah, look over here. And I'm way out of frame or whatever. But anyway, like I was saying, I've got some stuff in mind coming up. I've got a lot of things going on here in the immediate future, so I'm not sure when I'll be able to get out and get another good destination video. Hopefully I can get one or two good destinations before July. But with everything going on, that's not a guarantee. But I will try. If I can't get a good like Forks or Mount Rainier or something good like that, I'll at least try and find something close by that we can get to and go do a little exploring. So hopefully you'll come along when we go on that ride, and hopefully this was something worth watching for you. Got you some information. I don't know if you're a writer and you've been looking at the break free, or you've been thinking that you needed something. That may be what you're looking for. So I'll have the information for their website and stuff in the description down below. If you had any questions about it, or you wanted to know anything about my experience with it, or you had any comments on any of the things that I showed, feel free to drop a comment down below, or send me a message on Facebook, email me. My contact's in the page info. And thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe. If you have any other comments, drop those down below, and we will see you next time.